All right, we'll call the meeting of the Acton School Committee, June 12th, 2018, to order at this time, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, any adjustments to the agenda?
There are none.
Well, I need 1.3.
Yeah. 1.3?
Executive session, you know.
Report.
I just want it to be constantly there on the agenda.
I own that one. You've said that twice,
Yeah.
and I've
It was
fixed
in the
it
minutes
twice.
even of last
I'm
month.
I'm always doing it in the rearview mirror, so we're gonna make our template.
Yes,
We'll have it on it.
that's right.
Very good.
It's just, because it's at the end, and then if something happens, no one ever gets to know, because it's not filmed. So at the beginning of the next meeting, we want to be able to, you know, just tell them what happened or what didn't happen.
Okay. Comments from the public? I just wanted to mention, I wanted to take this opportunity to mention, you might see that Jennifer Goodwin's not here with us. She's our secretary tonight. She's not here tonight. She is leaving very, very early tomorrow morning to go to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where she'll be graduating from Drexel University with her master's degree, summa cum laude, with a GPA of 4.0. And she's getting special awards the day before the graduation for helping hands, for something called Common Good, for mentoring online incoming scholars, and she's a part of the Golden Honor National Society. So kudos to Jennifer for working so hard to get first her bachelor's degree and now to get her master's degree. And she said she was excited and nervous, but but we said she could miss the meeting tonight for that, I guess. It would be okay.
In a short time, right?
She's worked very hard. No, she's worked very hard. Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda. And I will look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mary and seconded by Kevin to accept the consent agenda. Any discussion? All in favor? 5-0. Okay, we'll have a report from the superintendent.
You bet. Thank you. I have a few items. I'll try to keep it brief. Tomorrow will be the second annual. It's kind of a tradition. We're starting a partnership with Sanford, where the kids from Sanford High School that are Acton residents will come up to the school in their caps and gowns, and they'll do a walk through the school, and the kids and the teachers will be on the hallways to congratulate them. They'll be arriving around 8:30, so if there's anybody in the public or on the school committee that would like to see that, it's really special. It started last year. And they'll come through and they'll get to see all their former teachers, and then they'll take a photo out front by the sign and get back on the bus and head on back down to Sanford. They're here for about 20 minutes.
What time is it?
8:30 tomorrow morning the bus arrives. I will be meeting them and having them come in up at the teachers' parking lot end, up where Marilyn Young and Sandra Packard's room are. We're going to come in that door, come all the way down and out. And Andy, can we go out the old established doors by Liz Hunt Nickerson? Are those able to open?
Yeah.
We're going to go out there to the front for a sign and back on the bus. So
Yeah.
I'll be exiting out those doors. We don't usually use them, but
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, excellent.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't last too long. So I wanted to mention that, and that's going to be tomorrow morning at 8:30. We had an awesome medieval fair last Friday, sponsored by the specials group, and the kids were really up for it. It was really super cool. It was the whole theme of medieval culture, and we had games out there, and they had on the tinfoil armor, and it was just really neat, and the weather was great, and it was just a really special day for all. I'd like to thank Adrienne Coley especially for that. She did a very nice job pulling it together for the school, along with a lot of support from the team and specials and all the teachers and ed techs at the school.
Can I add on to that a little bit?
Yeah.
They also did a fundraiser, and
I saw
they
that, yeah.
raised $125.58, and a check will be going out to the Barbara Bush Foundation at the Maine Medical Center.
In the sales of the things that they sold at the
Yep.
medieval, you know, get a
Fair.
whatever medieval cookie might have looked like. You know, mutton, didn't they eat mutton? They ate a lot of mutton and sold it that.
Yeah.
The 8th graders went to the Sanford Tech Center today, went down for Tech Explorations, which was a new initiative for the Sanford School Department. They had all of their sending schools have their 8th graders come down to try to promote and look into the aspects of technology, and of course with the new high school, that being integrated, even more thoughtful to have the kids go down and do some hands-on. They rode the regular high school bus back to Acton, and all went well today with that. Hiring, in the hiring process, just to update the committee and the public, tonight you will see a nominee, Mary Ellen Blodgett, for social studies. We'll talk about her in a little bit. And we had an ed tech, we're kind of in the process of an ed tech interview and some reference checking, feeling pretty good about that. Have another outstanding ed tech position that we'll probably keep posted. We're looking for somebody who might be interested in working at the elementary level, particularly with next year's 4th grade, which is going to be a little larger than normal. We figured a good ed tech would be able to help out there. I think our best success for that position might be somebody who's teacher certified, and that's probably going to come later in August. It tends to, right? Because the people that are teacher certified are looking for teaching positions right now. So I'm pretty hopeful for that, and as maybe a late summer hire. And the AP and instructional coach interview is on Monday, all day. We had over 20 candidates, and we boiled it down to, I believe, 6 or 7 that we will have in front of us on Monday, and hopefully that'll bear some fruit, and we'll have somebody to come in and join us next year. Next year's schedule is done. We finished it really today. One of the goals was to have the schedule all set to go with all the little nuances ready to roll, so that the first few days that we come back, we're not trying to figure out exactly when kids are going to be in band or in art or some of the other things, or GT. So that's been a lot of good work. Thanks to the staff for rolling up their sleeves on that. And my last one is I received a resignation letter from Margaret Ligotti today. She's our school social worker. She's been here for 2 years and has done a great job. Margaret will be missed. She's moving on to a school social work position much closer to her home. She travels from Portland every day. So we'll say goodbye to her, next week. And we will be posting that internally, I'm sure, within the next 3 to 4 business days, when I've had a chance to think about what we might want to look for in that position. And if we need to as well, we'll post outside. So we'll probably have some summer hires, and we'll talk about when maybe we meet in July, and maybe you guys can, maybe we'll be lined up to have some nominees then. And that's about it.
Okay. Any questions from the administrative reports from anybody?
How are our baseball and softball teams doing?
The season's over.
Season's over. How'd
Yes.
they do?
The girls won 2 in a row. I think they won 3 over the whole season. If anybody can correct me on that. Girls did quite well. The boys had a little more challenging year.
Okay, and how did our OM group end up?
Oh, sure. They were off in Iowa and they're back, and there were 47 world teams, and I believe they came in 16th. I put it in one of my updates to you. Yeah, they came in 16th. And we're going to celebrate that at the assembly on Friday the 15th, which is this Friday. They're going to be able to let the school know how they did and show them some cool video footage. I was with them Monday night at the PTG meeting, a week ago Monday night, and saw some of their footage from Iowa. It's really cool. So the goal from Jen Gore, the advisor who did an excellent job, was see if you can come in the top half, 50%. See if you can do, come in the top 49% really, right? And they came in 16th out of 46.
34% or
Yeah,
something?
pretty good.
That's good.
Could I just add one comment to the baseball, softball teams this year? I just wanted to thank Chris Whitman for accommodating us at the rec field this year. It's been a couple of years since we've had enough girls for a softball
Right,
team,
that's true.
and fortunately we had enough this year, and Chris was awesome as far as communicating with our athletic director and myself, so I just wanted to recognize him for accommodating us and thank him for a great season.
Good, thank you. Any other comments or questions from any of the administrative reports?
I have another question for Dell. Are the grants completed that you were talking about that they're due June 15th? They're gonna be done in time and
Oh, yes, they're actually already done.
they're done?
They're done.
Okay, because I don't know
They've
when you
been
wrote this, you
substantially
know.
approved, so we're good.
And I was looking back in September to see what the difference might have been from June of the actual students, and we had a total of 52 in September also. So, I know it fluctuated a little bit, one here, two here, but it was, it ended, the beginning was 52 total, and now it's 52. Then I had Kim. We had in one of your sheets, the total revenue, 94.85%. What is not here, like in the revenue?
Oh, we still have another EPS subsidy payment that still should be coming through. It's,
Yeah, I thought June,
and one more,
I should have,
one
see
more
100%.
nutrition.
Okay.
You know, just the little things like that. So.
Do you sometimes receive the actual revenue after the check, like after July 1, or is it always in June of before? They're pretty good about getting it in?
Yeah.
Okay, because
Yeah.
they need to get
In
it off
fact,
their books too.
Right.
State
'cause,
money.
Yeah, every time, submitting for grants is the minute I'm able to bill, and usually within a week, I've already got my payment back, so that's been going really good. Our Title I has been completely used, our local entitlement, our pre-K. What we have left for the rural grant, we're gonna be using for RTI, and so that'll be done this summer. And so I still have some monies left for professional development, which we have some things planned already for the summer. And we have a health curriculum one, it's a new one that we were really kind of unaware of. And we had some certain things we wanted to use it for, and found out we couldn't. We were looking for cameras, cause it said safety and security,
Yeah.
but
That's not what
they
they
wouldn't
meant.
let us use it for cameras, so we're now trying to figure out health curriculums, what we can use, so. But,
I have a question for Mike. You're saying you're putting the new wireless network in. What and when was this purchased? This is something we've had? Or that's just wires, or not wires? I don't know what you do. It's wireless, right?
I like to keep it like that.
But you have to plug it in somewhere, the unit, right?
No, these access points that we have currently distributed throughout the school
Okay.
are state run and owned. I have no control over them, and when we have issues, I'm unable to troubleshoot them. I have to get on the phone with the state support people, and they have to tinker on their end, and we get nowhere. And we've seen a lot of issues, especially on Patty's end of the building. And we could use upgrades, because these are 6 to 8 years old. So through E-rate, I'm able to replace the entire Wi-Fi network
Okay,
with new updated equipment on FCC bill.
okay, good. And I saw you had how the copiers are working. That's always interesting. And then I saw the top users was like the lower, and I saw like nothing from 6 through 8. So they don't use paper?
That's, they
Not
do
as
use
much,
it.
They use
not
less.
as much.
They were in there.
They use less.
Not too much
Um,
compared to the others.
It's hard to take an artifact on a computer and magnet on your refrigerator like you do with the kids.
I know,
That's part of it, right?
I like your anyway, I wanted to know how those new copiers were working because I have one and it just is a workhorse. It just never, I had copiers that I'd throw out after a year.
oh, the one in the library?
That thing's great.
That
this
thing's
thing is-
wonderful.
I
one
mean-
in here is a beast, it's a color copier. And
Yeah.
it spits out pages. It might take a while for a color page to come through
Right,
because
right.
they're so big and immense with data, but once they come through, it's just, it
Yeah.
churns them out
Yeah,
real
it
quick.
does.
And we have little to no issues as far as technical glitches or problems,
Right,
other than running out of paper most of the
right,
time.
right.
Just as a comment on that, we did our graduation program in-house, and that could be something we could have farmed out and had, you know, somebody do for a much higher cost than it was for Eileen to do the program right here.
Right. No, so I was happy to see that it's being used. And then, I just wanted to know about the PBIS, and then I'll stop talking. The survey results, but then I saw something else, we're gonna get that later.
Mm-hmm. The report from
Next
Fat
time?
Rat. Yeah.
Because I saw that in
And I noticed
curriculum.
in some of your goal setting for maybe over the summer, you mentioned PBIS, that report would be a great place to
Okay.
start. Yeah,
Okay.
and workshop.
I
Okay.
agree.
That's it for me.
I have a question and a couple comments.
Okay, go.
Can you hear me?
We can hear ya.
Yeah.
The question is, I was able to live vicariously through it, but maybe a quick update in regards to the Capstone, how that went. It seemed like things went really well.
Things went really well. I know Judy was here and
I
came through.
Yeah, I had a chance to visit and talk with several of the kids in the gym and ask them questions about their projects, and they were very, very efficient at explaining what their projects were and what they, about their research and what it was all about and how they happened to choose the project that they did. And I probably talked to half a dozen at least students, maybe more, in the gym, and it was very impressive. Their projects looked great, and they were very good at letting you know what it was all about.
I'd like to add that the 6-8 team recorded most of their presentations, and that video feed is on the website under the events videos.
Oh, cool,
So
Good.
the public can view them.
great.
You'll be able to find it right on our website, Kevin, under events.
Awesome, because I wasn't able to see,
Each
and I
one
wasn't
of
allowed
them,
to see.
they had the camera at each one of them, yeah, yeah.
I only got to see one of them being filmed live because it was the last one that was being done when I came in. But, yeah, and some of the topics that they chose were pretty cool.
Yeah, I just my comment about the Capstones. I just think it's. I just want to express my congratulations because I know this has been vamping up over the past few years, and just from the little bit I've seen, it seemed that a lot of the students really kind of explored things that were really interesting to them, and that's really one of the key points to, demonstrate things they've learned and skills they've learned in the exploration of something they're passionate about. So it seemed like that hit the mark. So I think this is a milestone, I think, for the school, and I just again appreciate it, and big congratulations. I think it's awesome.
And some of the 3D projects that they made too were cool to look at, to go along with their projects, to go along with their topics.
Awesome.
Saw a few brains.
Yeah, there were quite a few of those I heard.
Few of those, yeah, but it was,
Awesome.
I was very impressed.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to looking at them. So can I move on to some of my comments?
Absolutely.
So briefly, because I know it's hard to hear me on the computer, I just want to, and I wish I could be in person, but I just want to thank everybody. It's amazing how quickly 6 years goes. So I want to express my appreciation. A lot of folks have been sort of expressing their thanks to me, and I just want to, reciprocate by just extending just how much fun and a pleasure it's been, being a board member. I want to thank the board initially. In my professional capacity, I get to work with a lot of school committees actually, and I wish you could all see that, because compared to some and quite a handful of the boards I do work with, ours is really functional, and never once have I ever doubted that the committee and any of the members on the committee have ever been nothing but 100% dedicated to what's best for kids. And I think it actually is not all that common. So I just can't thank the committee enough for letting me be a part of it, and it's been an absolute pleasure, and I admire and I respect all of you to the infinite degree. John, I just want to thank you. I know we've had a handful of leaders over the past number of years. I think there's been 4 superintendents in my 6 years, so that I think says a lot. But I do think the school and the district is thriving under your leadership, much more, more so than any that I've had the experience to be a part of. So I hope you stick around for a while, because we're fortunate to have you. So thanks. And also, by extension, the administrative team. I think you've got a great team around you. I'm constantly humbled by just how hard everybody works and how accessible everybody is and quick to respond. I don't think there's ever been something that we haven't asked for as a board that the administrative team hasn't provided and quickly and in good spirits. And I know sometimes the asks are hard. So again, I can't thank you all enough. And most importantly, please extend, and I'll express it elsewhere, but to the staff and the teachers, I can put on my parent hat to sort of say, you know, my daughter's graduating, she's heading to high school, and I have zero doubt that she's very prepared. And I know, and I've been watching that she's while she's excited to move on to high school, when I see her get, you know, somewhat teary-eyed and sort of nostalgic about her experiences at Acton, that says a lot, where she's been proud of where she's been, you know, partially raised, and the experiences she's had at Acton have been formative, and I know she will remember them for the rest of her life. But I also know she's ready, more than prepared, to excel and exceed it in high school. So just a big thanks to everybody. And again, even though when I'm not on the board anymore, I mentioned this to John, but I am happy to provide assistance and help in any capacity that I can. So and I look forward to doing so. But thank you, and I'll miss you all.
Well, we're gonna miss you, and later on in the thing, there was some comments from the chair, but I'm gonna kind of switch that around, switch the menu around a little bit, because we want to, as a board, express our thanks and appreciation to you, Kevin, for all that you've brought to the board, not just as a board member, but all the knowledge and all the skills that you have from your consulting that you do, and your knowledge on PBS and so many different things, and your work on the policies, and your willingness to come into the school and do things. It's just been amazing, and we're really gonna miss you on this board. And we wish you well, and we're glad that you're still gonna be available to help us some. That's awesome.
I won't be a stranger. Thank you.
You better not be.
We've gone beyond and above, or above and beyond, many times.
Thank you, Kevin, for your
Thanks, everybody.
expertise. Appreciate it.
And I can just, as I was going through it, you probably saw it, but also Andy had written in his report,
I did. Thank you, Andy.
yeah,
Oh,
how much
welcome,
he,
Kevin.
how
Thank you
much
so
he
much.
appreciated you too.
Big smile.
Helped us with our strategic plan and so many different things, and
Initiatives.
initiatives, all the new initiatives. It's just been awesome. So we wish you well, and we're glad you're not gonna be a stranger. Thank you,
Nope.
Kevin.
What email should we use?
Wested.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, let's go on to progress monitoring.
That would be Dr. Young. You're gonna take that piece, and Kevin, we sent you, she sent
got
you,
it.
Francine sent, okay? You're not gonna be able to see it, so you have it. I'll get out of the way.
Follow along. Thank you.
Alrighty.
Kevin, is that you, that little pink dot up on my screen? Something armadillo or something. At the beginning of the year, when the students first took NUIAs in September, once we got all the data back, the teachers averaged out in each content area what the RIT goals were for their class, and they came up with a goal. And once I get to the end, you'll see where those came into play. The reason why we've been looking at this data throughout the year was in the fall, we start with looking at what students may have lost over the summer, what they retained, and it gave the teachers the ability to look at a baseline for growth and start from where the students were, not start from where a textbook said that they should be. We identified strengths, challenges, and teachers could plan from their students' perspective so that moving forward, they knew what areas needed some fine tuning and what was already strong. For the spring, we're able to look back over the year to see where students made significant progress, what areas content-wise might still be challenging or cause for concern. And for whoever is the instructional coach next year, I have some recommendations later for how this data can maybe fuel some professional development throughout the year next year to fill in those gaps. So when we start with reading, we have the fall scores, and I presented these to you at the beginning of the year. And then we have the spring scores. And then the goal growth, these are what the teachers saved and shared with me as the progress they had hoped that their students would collectively make. And their actual achieved growth is in the farthest right column. And with the exception of our K2 in reading, where they're just now developing those reading skills, every other grade level surpassed their goal. And our K2 team are all very close to what they had hoped to do with the class. So I'm not upset with that at all. I still see that as good progress. There was growth that was made, and students are performing at a stronger level than they were in the fall. So I'm okay with that. I was really quite happy with those numbers. Third grade made leaps and bounds beyond what they had projected, and I have to make sure that I share that with the third grade teachers. I haven't had a chance yet. But there were a lot of our third graders made trips back and forth down the hallway to the library, constantly checking out books. When they had free time, or if they had independent reading, they were just camped out all over the classroom. Sometimes they'd be laying in the hallways, just reading, wherever they were comfortable. So I think whatever system is in place that's fostering just that enjoyment of reading for the sake of reading, it's working. Next we have math, I think. And everybody's assessed in math. And this is where school-wide we have a challenge. We had good, strong goals set, but struggled to meet those goals. And I haven't researched what factors may have come into play that caused this to happen. But even though the average growth goals weren't met school-wide, we still had significant school-wide growth. So this area in math is where every teacher who does teach math would benefit from some PD around different instructional techniques, finding supports within the classroom for the content. I know that the Title I reading has done wonders with our little ones who are developing those skills and may not have as much support at home or have some other barriers with their reading processing. Title I also has math programs, and some of the teachers and I earlier this year looked into some different Title I programs for math. That might be an option that needs to be investigated further going forward, because it would, if the Title I has benefited reading to the extent it has, you know, I'm drawing a false equivalency, but I would be hoping that it would have the same sort of results. Second grade, Mr. DePrisco just took off, and those kids did a fabulous job. I need to make sure I tell him that too. And while there were some struggles and not everybody was able to meet the goals that they had established, everybody still, for the most part, made some progress. And that's what I want to focus on. And there are ways that we can support teachers in improving math instruction. Language, I think this is reflected too with the reading scores. K through 2 don't assess in language, but every single grade level surpassed the goal that they had set. School-wide average goal was +7, and school-wide average, we had over 10 points of growth. So the students are reading and understanding it and incorporating those skills into their writing and their language mechanics. So there's that overarching benefit to each one, and I think that it showed up well here, Pat. Last we had science. And again, with only one exception, every group surpassed the goal that it had set for them. There was some concern at the end of last year with the 3-5 group with the PLTW materials, because that program didn't meet as many standards as it did for the K2 section of it. This year we've introduced supplemental, well, we've used PLTW, sorry, as a supplemental for 3 through 5 with a different science content curriculum, and it's definitely paid off. The kids are still doing the STEM work through PLTW. I got that right this time. But it's with the content structure through the other curriculum, it is having its benefits. And Mr. Cody's self-created science program that he made up himself and uses is working. So they made good strides there. Then just recommendations that I would have for PLC and PD work for next year would be focus math instruction and coordinate maybe with some of the schools in the area to see what they might be doing with math PD. Science, I would continue with the PLTW for K2, and they enjoy it when they're making toothpaste and fixing broken bones and all that fun stuff that the little kids do. 3 through 5, I spoke with quite a few students just throughout the year while they were going through the new science program. I would just ask them, how do you like it? And they like the format, and the students are engaged in it. And I was a little worried because it was more bookish and not quite so many activities. But there are activities incorporated, and the teachers found a good way to tie in the PLTW to it. So they were good and active with their science throughout the year. Reading, continue with Fountas and Pinnell for the foundational. Title I obviously would stay. Some of the K2 teachers went and visited Carl Lamb? Yeah. In March to observe Lucy Calkins' reading, and they are just piloting it this year. So the consensus was to revisit this in another year and see if it was something that for the K2 group to be pursued, to support reading. Language, continuing with Lucy Calkins' writing K through 2. It should be all the way through. I don't know why I stopped at K2. 3 through 8 expressed a need for some supportive curriculum for writing and mechanics in addition to Lucy Calkins, because they have found that once you get out of the foundational writing, there's a lack of grammar lessons with mechanics and punctuation and subject verb agreement, things like that, and spelling. And students are typing things in and waiting for that little red line to show up, and rather than actually learning how to spell words. So those are just a few things to be considered. Beyond that, and that's it. That's it, I'm done. I'm sorry, the end. Better?
The end.
The end.
That's good.
Okay.
Good recommendations.
Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions or comments? Kevin, anything?
We can't hear you. Speak up.
Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Yeah.
I had it on mute, there was some background noise here. Yeah, so thank you, Francine, I think that's fantastic. And I'm thinking my recommendation, when the committee works on the goals for next year, to look at these data as well, but to also add, what you can do is, every few years, and 2015 was the last time NWEA did this, where they established the national norms. So what the sort of the median RIT scores are for each of the grade levels in each of the areas, and it gives you sort of a comparison to sort of see how our students did nationally. And doing the numbers really quickly, like there are some where we're significantly above, but then there are some where we're below. So where there are areas where we're significantly below, that might be some good indicators to set some goals. Like for example, when I look at the data, the grade level that concerns me the most perhaps is 4th grade, where I think they were below the median nationally in all 4 areas, where, for example, 2nd grade was significantly above in all areas. So you've got different cohorts, and there's, you're talking different students, but it might give some insights into areas to provide some interventions and supports. It's just one set of data metrics, but to give it a comparative look, the NWA tends to be less rigorous than the state assessments. So if they're below the median on the NWA, they're probably going to struggle even more on the state assessments. So it's a good in-house measure. So that's it.
Can we have that emailed to us, where our kids ended and what the national average was?
Is that to me?
No, to Francine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
We can post this PowerPoint to the web too, Mike. This is information on how we're doing at the end of the year. Kevin, just as a piggyback on what you said, this is my first year with continuing contract teachers to have developed a growth goal last fall and then look at that growth goal for their students this spring. And there's a 5th category now in their summative evaluation on student growth. That's that PPEG model that was developed 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
NWEA is one measure. The other one is the benchmarking that comes out of Title I. And we're not one chose the state measure because of course that comes out later in October, so it's very hard to get your hands on that for a year-end piece of information for an evaluation. But I just wanted you to know that we're using this data now also at the very individual level. This is what I wanted to see in my class. We do the numbers. This is what I got. The conversation with the administrators about, okay, so it's great data, so where are we? What do we do? We readjust or we celebrate, we process and improve, and then the cycle continues for another 3 years.
So to clarify, if I understand correctly, so because there's been various, I know every school has been different. It's been a couple of years since we've had this conversation. Right. So to let me know if I'm paraphrasing correctly. So the NWEA is one of many, of multiple measures that teachers can use as part of their evaluation system.
Can be if they chose that in the conversation back in September, correct? And many did, but not all. So
one recommendation I would make, and I'm happy to have conversations later on about this too. One thing I'm seeing successful in this area is, and this might be interesting for the school committee. I'll try not to get too nerdy and not to say too much here, but the issue of it as part of teacher evaluations, including any student data, has been very political and controversial. For understandable reasons, because teachers don't have direct control over directly over student learning. Actually, there are a lot of other mitigating factors. It's like basically saying to doctors or to an oncologist, we're going to hold you accountable on how good of a doctor you are based upon your success rates. They're just a lot of factors out of our control. What teachers really should be held accountable to most directly are what research say are the most effective practices, because they have 100% control over their behaviors and the decisions they make. They can be doing everything right, and some students, for a variety of reasons, may not do that. In general, though, you would expect a certain amount of growth from teachers, so that's why I tend to think it's a good idea to have some of those data as part of a portfolio, but a small fraction. But that being said, knowing that we're sort of looking, with the PLCs moving forward next year and all of those pieces, one thing I'm finding helpful, in addition to maybe it's a part of the evaluation system, maybe it's a part of the PLC, there's different ways of doing it, but when they're looking at the data, if we're going to start using these data to set goals, let's say
We lost you.
to the group of students that they have are really struggling with math, teachers can set their own personal goals as it relates to enhancing their teaching. So it's a teaching improvement goal. So, and it's things that they can directly connect. So if I want to see, for example, a student's reading scores improve, I might say, I'm going to learn about these strategies for enhancing listening comprehension. And then I am going to integrate these 3 or 4 strategies or these practices more routinely into my teaching. That's something they control, and it's logical. If they make those changes in their teaching, you're likely to see the gains in the student scores, but we're holding teachers accountable to things they can control.
Right.
So it's probably, sorry to be that long-winded, but basically the theory is if you want students' scores to increase somewhere, teacher behavior has to change, because we get the scores, even though teachers don't have direct control, the number one factor that influences student achievement is the teacher. So if teachers can set improvement goals for their teaching, that align with goals you want to see for those the student data, that's really being effective in a lot of places. I hope that made sense.
Yes,
Yes,
very
makes a
good.
lot of sense.
So, long story short, as part of the planning process moving forward, I would recommend part of the, maybe next year, teachers looking at the data to set their own teaching improvement goals. That would be a part of that. Just like one per teacher.
Mhm.
I'm done.
For now.
Thank you. Good
For
day.
now.
Are you really?
Okay, let's see, we're at number 6, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with policy reviews.
Well, I think we're all done with this accounting procedure manual, correct?
Yes, thank you, policy
Kevin?
committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy Moses, there's like 21 different policies in this one policy, but you needed that. Well done.
Yeah, we will have, RHR Smith are coming the second week of July, and they're gonna do the whole audit in 4 days. I'll try to pare it down to 3. But, it was good to have this finalized, so that way when I give it to them, I have a date on it that says, this is, done. And it has all our accounting policies, and it's all in one manual, and they'll be happy with that, so.
And thank you, Kevin, for all your scrutinizing, your spelling, your punctuation, your
Good.
wise wisdom, and for the policy committee. I can't say enough words, right?
No, I know, he did really well, so.
Kim did the all of the heavy lifting actually, so huge kudos to Kim.
Yeah, that was on one end, yeah.
Yeah,
You were on the other.
yeah.
So,
I think the booklet looks great though. Nice job, Kim.
so tonight we're just adopting this as an updated
Yeah.
document.
Yeah.
So I will look for a motion to accept the Acton School Department's accounting procedures manual for, as updated and printed.
So moved.
We'll let him take it, I'll say second.
Kevin and Mary.
That I didn't print. It's like, I'm not printing that.
Any further discussion on this
Yellow, Serena, it should be yellowed out.
volume?
I had
Boom.
tone.
No? All right, all those in favor? 5 and up.
Thank you.
Very good. That's all your policy has for tonight?
Wow,
Congratulations, Kim.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
yeah.
That's great. It's unbelievable, really. All that goes into that. Nothing gets much more transparent than this. This is as transparent as you can get.
Without.
Exactly. Okay, let's go to the long-term planning committee. Do they have anything for tonight?
We did not meet.
Okay. And let's go on then to the negotiations committee.
We did meet just before this meeting, and it was really just organizational, trying to figure out where we're gonna start.
Okay. All right, then, let's move on to new business.
Hiring of a new nominee. I'm pleased to, on 7/1/1, present a nominee of Mary Ellen Blodgett, who's here with us this evening. Mary Ellen was one of many people who interviewed with us, and she was really a standout. Mary Ellen she'll tell a little bit about herself to you, but I picked up on she's worked in a small school, a lot like this school, and a big school, and she likes small schools, and we like that. So that's why she's here in front of you this evening. So I'm just gonna turn it over to Mary Ellen for just a moment to introduce yourself perhaps to our school committee who's gonna be voting on your hiring this evening.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I had begun my teaching career teaching at Glenburn Elementary, which is a pre-K through 8 school. And I taught 7th and 8th grade social studies there. And so I then moved to Southern Maine, and I tried my hand at Gorham High School, and I've thoroughly enjoyed my year there, but it was a 1-year position. It was 4/5, and I'm just so excited that a similar school to Glenburn popped up on my radar. And I've never heard anything but wonderful things about Acton, and I'm so excited to be a part of this school committee and community, and just thank you so much for having me and considering me. to join your team.
So
Sounds great.
teaching middle school social studies, and the middle school middle school team is very excited about having her come on board.
Very
Good.
good.
Excellent.
So with your schooling, do you take like history courses? Is there like, or is it just a
For social
general teaching certificate? I don't understand, when you specialize.
Right, so my certification is 7th through 12th grade, so secondary education with the social studies endorsement. I also have an anthropology minor, so I incorporate that into my courses as well.
Very good.
Excellent.
Maybe we can dig something up around here.
I don't know, if it's buried, you might want to leave it there, Jeanette.
Going down the block.
So are you making a nomination?
I made that nomination in my packet that you take under consideration. And in case you've asked, we would bring her in at bachelor's level step 3 at $40,584, starting with next year's contract.
40,584.
$40,584. That's a BA step 3 on the current collective bargaining.
Okay, so I'll look for a motion to hire Mary Ellen Blodgett as our new middle school social studies teacher.
I'll make a motion to hire Mary Ellen Blodgett at the BA Step 3 level at $40,584 for the coming school year. And what do you call that as the beginning teacher? What is it?
Probationary.
A probationary teacher.
3 years.
As a
Yeah.
probationary teacher.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved by Mary, seconded by Jeanette. Any further discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well-
Will you have far to travel?
I'm looking to move down this way. I currently live in Standish.
Oh, well, yeah.
I know somebody who lives in Standish. I haven't moved. I did buy something that's better on gas though.
Okay, let's move on then to 7-2, and that would be teacher assignments.
So one of my goals for the end of the school year was to ensure that certain things happened, and one of them is teacher assignments. So I provided that to you in your packet with the approximate number of students that we feel we'll start the year with. So if you want to reflect on that and have any questions, you want to know that there were some opportunities to look differently at the 3 through 5 group, because I wanted to be very clear that that group of 4th graders were 2nd graders, and we split that group because there was 28 of them. And we currently are at 25 if nothing changes. I want to put in the however. I'm going to hire a full-time ed tech for that grade. And if I can find a full-time ed tech for that teaching assignment for the 4th grade teacher, who will be Lindsay Crawford next year, it'd be really great if that ed tech was also teacher certifiable if we had to make a change. If we have a few more kids come in, we're going to have to make a decision. But I've already explained this before. It's the right way to start the school year, and just like we did with 2nd grade, if we have to make a shift, it's automatic. The room, I do have an extra room that will be, it's not really even an extra room, it's going to be in the area of the 3 through 5 cohort. It's going to be a room that is for them, it'll be adjoining them, and they can use it as places with the ed tech if kids need to do assessments or break out and do a different group. We've also, Kevin, had a lot of conversations about how we can look at that 3 through 5 group and look at it more as a group of learners, and if they're doing better, so you know what, because this model's changed and it's forced the hand to do things differently, the teachers are talking about, well, maybe we should do this differently because Lindsay might have 25 kids. But at the end of the day, when some go off to specials and other things happen, and this kid's playing up in English and this kid's working in math and playing up in the 5th grade, it's not always 25 kids. It is at the Bell and at homeroom, but throughout the day, it's not always 25 kids, and some are playing up anyway. So we're really trying to use this as kind of a think tank on how we not quite go gradeless, but how we use the skills and knowledge of the teachers and where kids are at to perhaps perform a little differently. But we're still going to call it 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade for now. But I think it's going to be very interesting. So we're kind of taking a chance. They're holding my hand and they're jumping off out of the plane with me without a parachute. So thank you, 3 through 5 cohort. I had to kind of say it's going to be good. This is going to be okay. And we've built, I think, the level of trust where we're gonna try this out. But if we have 4 or 5 kids move in, you know, you're gonna hear me come to you, and that's part of the plan. If we need to turn that into a teacher in a classroom, we will. But right now, the number's odd, and it's kind of hard to split them and justify that right now, because last time we did it, there were more kids. So I wanted to throw that out for that teaching assignment. You'll see a couple of doubles there next year. The first grade will move up to second grade, and you can see that Patty's gonna loop. And I'm not getting into who is going to be with who. That will be disclosed to parents the last day of school. But we have a couple of double grades there too as well, that you'll see where we have to make decisions on where kids are going. We have a fairly good sized kindergarten class, but you know what? I look back, we started with 23 kids in kindergarten this year anyway. We had a few move, they're a great group of kids, and I look at those early learners, and pre-K, keeping 2 teachers on pre-K. Last year I had Heather kind of in limbo, and in August said, hey Heather, you want to go back to pre-K? 5 kids moved to town. We have enough to justify 2 teachers and 1 ed tech. If we have a bunch of pre-K kids, then I'll put another ed tech there. So I'm feeling very comfortable having the teaching assignments done now, that if our numbers change up, I can move people around. And I think we got the support that we need. So I just wanted to tell you that going into it, the goal was have the teacher assignments, have the room assignments, which really, if you don't mind, I can take 7-3 with that, because I did talk about rooms. And there's an opportunity to move the social studies room back where the social studies room was, and put the resource room at the 3 through 5, kind of middle school end back. Pam can move back into that room with the divider where the social studies room is now, because it just makes sense, because that's what it's designed for.
Yeah.
Right now, Pam was great to move out of her space and go into Bob's old office and use that. But now I've got the room, because that 3 through 5 group has kind of shrunk a little bit, and they moved up to 6 through 8. But it doesn't require more space, so we're being creative with that. I think we're really well organized going into the last day of school this year. There aren't many unknown factors other than number of kids coming in or out of the district when we open school in August.
Good.
That's great. To
So
have
just
all
a
this-
quick comment. So that sounds awesome, John. So kudos on all of that. It's exciting to hear sort of like the cohorts moving sort of more in that direction of sort of data driven versus the grades and stuff like that. So yeah, just the only thing I would encourage moving forward is some things to try. It's hard to do, but one strategy or suggestion would be is sort of like with grouping, or when you get to that point, strive to do it in a way where it's sort of like the data's in front of you, but the age or name data is gone, so you can sort of make decisions in what I would call an age or grade blind manner. Sometimes we have to make ourselves blind to that information, otherwise it seeps into our. So it's just a strategy to sort of like put the data on the table, but hide that other data.
Which has been your song right along, correct, Kevin?
Yeah, and it's just
Absolutely.
increasingly, it's really amazing just sort of how we're so ingrained in sort of the water that it's built into the cake of just education across the country. We're so used to age-based decision making, and it really makes very, very, very little sense when we think about it. But it has a stranglehold in many ways on our system, and in some ways it really does make things a lot harder. So,
Thank you.
yeah, no, I think it's good. I think we're moving in the right direction. I think in many ways we're ahead of. I could see this down the road. Just as a little aside. I think Acton is, particularly with this cohort model, is further ahead than a lot of other places. And if we continue to move in that direction, I think others could come here to learn how to do these sorts of things. So.
That's great.
And we'll charge them.
Well, you can, and as an aside, I think it's a model that's literally used in education where, and I'm working against my own profession as a consultant, but I think it's silly oftentimes where schools pay people who aren't within the actual system to come in and provide guidance, when if schools really were able to identify signature practices where they became the expert at something, then schools could charge other educators from other schools, and you'd have this sort of microeconomy where schools are giving money to other schools, so it's staying within the system even more tightly, which would have a greater benefit on kids. So like at Noble, we used to do something around small learning communities, and for about 5 years we had schools from across the country we would set up 3-day institutes where they would come, they'd stay in hotels, and we would basically, over 3 days, teachers would train their teachers, and they would observe things going on in the school. And we charged about $5,000 per team. It funded our professional development for a long time.
Yeah, see?
Check that out.
Okay, we ready to move on
We
to,
are, 7-4?
yeah, 7-4?
So Mary brought this to me via an email, perhaps at the last moment. We went to Sanford and we had that joint Sanford School Committee meeting. And you mentioned to me there used to be a survey of students and parents who attended Sanford High School. And then, of course, my tenure isn't that long, so I didn't know much about that. But I wanted to give an opportunity to talk about more about what that might look like and what would the timelines be on that, because it sounds like a pretty good idea if we want to bring that back. What would that look like?
Well, it was really coming from the candidates' night. They were asking us.
Oh, that's where it
Yeah.
came from. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the parents were wondering if we could make a better connection with the high school parents. So I was thinking, well, you know what, in the past, we got a little feel for what the parents were thinking and the students were thinking. So we did surveys. I mean, you'd have to have, a committee that would put together the survey questions, distribute it, analyze it, make phone calls. And we got a big response because we basically phoned them and said, I'm from the school committee and I'm gonna ask these questions. You ask the same questions to everybody. And
So it came, the school committee did the survey of our parents of our high school
But it
kids.
was a committee, and
Got
I
it.
was on that committee
Okay.
as a school committee member. But, I mean, you definitely get a feel for, are we supporting them enough,
Sure.
The very, very last one we did was maybe when Kevin just came on, and it was a very quick survey, and of course, the bus issue came up, the activity bus at the high school. So we put it in the budget, and within 2 months, it was out of the budget, out. It didn't, October we were done, it didn't work, there was one kid, I feel bad for the one kid, but you can't have the bus
But
running.
you tried it.
We tried.
Yeah.
Tried it.
So that
Okay.
was a few years ago, I would say, when you first came. Do you remember that
It was
survey?
the first year I was here.
I don't remember the survey, but I have a
remember the
vague
bus?
recollection.
But we haven't heard a word about
Right.
having an
So,
activity bus.
and I always
since
feel like, the high school parents, maybe they would come to us or ask a school committee member something, but I never hear anything from the high school parents, so. There's nothing going on there, I guess.
Oh, there's plenty. I'm
We
wondering.
we may find more,
Okay.
because of the new school.
Well, that's what I was wondering, with the transition to a new school, and I've done this, I've been on 4 building projects, and I'd moved 3 times in those 4 building projects. And as much as everything could go well at any school building project, there's always your punch list. Oh, the door doesn't have hinges, or, oh, my outlet's not there, or the water doesn't work, and these are all things you discover when you move in.
Yeah.
And in a building that's 7 acres large in Sanford, I'm sure the punch list is gonna be long, and there's transition to move some of the programs in around New Year's if we heard right into the new year. And that's all being planned. So my question is this of the school committee. I think it's a great undertaking, but I asked the question, with such transition happening with the new school, would it be an appropriate time to ask questions of that when there's so much in flux? Do you think the parents could give a reasonable response to an environment that is unknown and is still in a transition? Kevin?
Maybe the end of the year.
I agree with you.
Okay.
I think it
End of
might
the year.
not jive, but I wonder, are they going to have sort of some sort of committee that's giving feedback in regards to, I would think that if they're implementing this, there should be some group or collection to where they're gathering feedback of what's going well, what's not going well with this new building. And if they have something of that order, I think it would be good to have some active representation there, so that, because we'll be hearing things from our group of students.
So Mary asked a question about another visit down there over the summer, and I'm looking into that. That could dovetail with the question when we're with David, do you have a committee and what does that look like? That'd be a great idea. Judy,
Because
you
there's a
mentioned the
there's
end
a
of the
lot of
year.
questions, I know I have the question if they're gonna be busing kids to the Y,
Oh,
things like that. So I think a lot of things will come up of a similar nature.
Yeah, I think if we wanted to do some kind of a survey like that, with the parents at the end of the school year, after they've been in the school for a year, would make more sense to do it like at the end of the school year, after they've had a year being in the new building with the new programs and everything. And, Incidentally, I don't know how many of you saw any of the news tonight, but on the 5 o'clock news tonight, I saw that there may be a delay, that they're having some issues with being ready to be ready on time. So they're a little nervous about that at this point. I think they're not sure, but I think they said they were gonna make a definite decision by Friday of this week as to whether or not the school is gonna be ready to open in September as planned, or if they will might have to wait.
I think part of that, I'm guessing, I don't know the news article, but I remember at the meeting in Sanford, they had some portables that were gonna go away and everything else by like the 15th or 17th of
Right.
June. And once
Yes.
those are gone, they're gone, you can't go back. So I bet that's the part of the decision that probably they have to face.
Right,
Yeah.
and I don't know how much of this has to do with the recent vandalism this week with the fires and things too, that caused a lot of smoke damage. I don't know how much of this delay is related to that, or if it's just, hopefully it would be related to that, so it would be something they could get on top of, because if it's for other reasons, then, they're not meeting their deadline, and somebody's gonna be paying a lot of money.
Could be. So we'll take that on, and, you know, after budget season's out, but before the end of school, might be some work we could do. We've got these meetings that are non-budget, but towards the end of the school year, might be good work for us to get done, is survey our kids and our parents and see how we're doing in Sanford.
Okay, we'll move on then.
Quick question,
Yeah.
somewhat related to that, and my apologies for not bringing this up earlier, or maybe, here's not, just a quick little, it relates to the step-up day, that, from a parent perspective, step-up
Yeah.
day went fantastic.
Yeah.
Although, one just question mark that got raised in my own brain was that, there was a surprise test in one of the classes the kids were visiting, so the kids got assessed. And that was really unanticipated, and I think created some unnecessary stress on the part for some students. So I think maybe just look at, I just had some questions about that. I don't need them answered now, but I think it might be something worth looking into. I think it caught people by surprise.
They tested the 8th graders that were
Yeah.
visiting?
Wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, so when they went into one of the math classes, the math teacher at Sanford gave them a test.
Well, welcome to Sanford High, and here's a pop quiz before you even get registered in the fall.
And it was for placement purposes, and I think like that, but they were not expecting it, and I think that's a little unfair
Yeah.
for the
Oh,
kids.
so it might have
They
been more
figure
of a
they're coming here to
placement.
see what school's like, and they're suddenly getting an assessment that might, dictate what their future's gonna be. So,
Yeah.
I don't think it ended up being a big thing, but I think that's problematic.
Yeah, and feel free to have a follow-up conversation with me over the phone, because we do a lot of work at the front end for placements before, when the kids register.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why they register for the higher level math courses or whatever math course they need. We know
So
the
I think
data.
I think it raised some eyebrows. I don't think it was expected from anyone here
Okay.
at Acton.
Very good.
Thanks for that info. And 7.5, comments from the chair. That was originally designed to express our deep appreciation to Kevin for all of his work on the school committee. And I also want to, because we've addressed that, I also want to express thanks from the school committee to Marilyn Young, who is retiring this year. She's taught in the school for very many years, and we want to express our appreciation to her for her many years of service to the school and to the children of Acton, and to wish her much happiness and wellness in her retirement.
That's great. Can I just make a comment to my administrative team? This is our last formal meeting for the school year, and this is my first team in Acton, and it's not gonna be the same. And I just wanna thank everybody, Mike, Andy, Dell, Francine, Kim. We know Francine's moving on to a principalship. Best of luck, Francine. You really knocked it out of the park with us.
Yes, good luck.
You guys have done a great job. It's been a great year. Thank you so much for all the extras that all you guys do. I really appreciate that. And I'll have a chance to thank the staff before we actually break off for summer break. And I need everybody in the community to know, in the school committee, that our graduation is a week from tonight in the gym. And it's always a very good time to watch those 8th graders be ready to leave our school. And then the last day of school is the day after, and it's a full day of school. We'll have a full day of fun, and we'll wish everybody a happy summer as they leave the building a week from tomorrow.
And what time is the graduation set for?
Oh, Andy, what's
6 p.m.
6 p.m.? I almost said 6:30, but 6 p.m. Thank you. Programs are ready to go. Diplomas assigned.
And all you just said Also the same to you, Mr.
Well,
Ross.
thank you.
Yes.
I'll see you guys.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
You will see us
I'll
over the
see you.
summer, but
Yes,
we
ma'am.
certainly appreciate the leadership you are providing. I was gonna say you have provided. but you
Go
are
present, Dad.
providing.
Thank you.
Present tense.
You are providing for us here in the school, and we're very excited to see some of the positive changes that have taken place just since you came on board. And it's awesome, and we're looking forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you very much.
Well, I would like to thank Francine Young personally. I think you did a great job. It was like a new position, figuring out what we wanted you to do, and you did very well. And for stepping in to be superintendent, principal, whenever you had to, wear that hat. I appreciate it.
Best of luck.
And yes, good luck in your new job.
Keep in touch.
All right,
Maybe you
let's
can do
move
a day
on
trip,
to-
bring the kids down here. You have how many in the school?
53.
Well, so you can do a day trip.
One bus, one bus.
One bus. The
Not
visit-
even a bus, it'd be a caravan of parents.
Oh, no bus,
Okay.
okay.
There's no bus.
All right, let's move on to number 8. Is there any old business? Nothing printed here. Anybody have any old business?
Agenda placeholder.
No.
Okay, then I will look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Wow. Okay.
Moved by Mary, seconded by Kevin.
7:10. I'm out
All
of here.
those in favor?
With sadness.
Aw.
Kevin, raise that hand one last time, Kevin.
Hey, vote.
There it is. High five. Yeah, yeah.
Kevin the traitor.
Thank you, Virginia.
No.